8 years, 8 straight wins, zero doubt. The champion wasn't supposed to lose. By 2006, bodybuilding had stopped asking who would win the Olympia. The only question left was by how much. But on one night, inside one arena, something changed. Judges hesitated, fans went silent, and the most dominant champion in bodybuilding history walked off stage without the trophy. However, this wasn't just an upset. It was the moment bodybuilding quietly decided it wanted a different future, and almost nobody understood why. In September 2006, the bodybuilding world gathered for the most predictable event in the sport. The next chapter of domination by Ronnie Coleman at the Mr. Olympia seemed guaranteed. 8 consecutive wins had turned victory into routine. Ronnie wasn't just champion, he had become the standard by which human muscularity was measured. And yet backstage, something felt different. Not dramatic, not obvious. Just a quiet shift in energy that nobody could explain. Standing nearby was the one man who had spent years chasing a shadow that never seemed to shrink. Cutler. This night would redefine both of their legacies, but the real story started years earlier. By the early 2000s, Ronnie Coleman had transformed bodybuilding into a sport of extremes. Judges rewarded size, density, and grainy conditioning like never before. Ronnie wasn't simply muscular, he looked engineered. Competitors didn't believe they could beat him, they believed they could maybe place second. That psychological shift mattered more than physique, because bodybuilding is judged by humans, and humans are influenced by expectation. Year after year, challengers walked on stage already defeated in their minds. Ronnie wasn't just winning the Olympia, he was controlling its atmosphere. Cutler entered the Olympia as the opposite personality, calm, analytical, strategic. He didn't chase shock factor, he chased precision. But here is the lesser-known reality. Jay wasn't trying to beat Ronnie's physique. He was trying to beat Ronnie's system. For years, bodybuilding had rewarded extreme mass. Jay realized something subtle. Judges were quietly becoming uncomfortable with how far physiques were pushing the limits. The sport was approaching a tipping point between spectacle and aesthetics. Jay wasn't just training to improve. He was training for a moment when judging standards might change. He was preparing for a future that hadn't arrived yet. From 2001 to 2005, Jay repeatedly finished second. Publicly supportive, privately relentless. But each loss gave him data. He studied score sheets, judges' comments, crowd reactions, media narratives. Small hints began to form a pattern. Judges still crowned Ronnie, but they were starting to praise different qualities in other athletes. Symmetry, shape, balance. The language of judging was shifting before the results did. Jay understood something dangerous. Ronnie was still perfect for the old Olympia, but bodybuilding itself was evolving. Ronnie entered 2006 aiming for a 9th title. No one had ever done it. The storyline was historic inevitability. But behind the scenes, Ronnie was fighting his own body. Years of brutal training had accumulated injuries. His physique still looked overwhelming, yet subtle details began to fade. Tiny changes invisible to casual fans. Skin texture, midsection control, overall balance. Not dramatic flaws, but in elite judging, perfection is measured in millimeters. And when a champion rules for 8 years, judges stop comparing him to others. They start comparing him to his best version of himself. That is the most dangerous opponent a champion can face. When both men stepped on stage, the arena felt the tension immediately. Ronnie still looked enormous, still dominant, still powerful. But Jay looked different. Sharper lines, cleaner waist, more polished presentation. This was not the biggest Cutler ever, it was the most calculated Cutler ever. The crowd sensed it before the results. Something was finally competitive. For the first time in years, Ronnie wasn't standing in a separate category. He was standing in a comparison, and comparison changes everything. The decision that night wasn't about size, or strength, or even conditioning alone. It was about direction. Bodybuilding had to decide what kind of future it wanted. Continue pushing mass beyond human limits, or shift toward aesthetics and longevity. Choosing Jay meant choosing change. Choosing Ronnie meant choosing tradition. When the judges finalized their scores, they weren't just ranking physiques. They were quietly steering the sport. When Jay Cutler's name was announced as champion, the reaction was confusion before celebration. The crowd needed a moment to process reality. Ronnie Coleman had lost. After 8 years, the dynasty ended in silence before applause. Jay's victory wasn't explosive. It was surreal. Even he looked shocked. Because deep down, he knew something most fans didn't. This wasn't just a win. It was a shift in judging philosophy finally becoming visible. Victory changed Jay's life instantly, but it also changed his role forever. He was no longer the hungry challenger. He became the new standard, the new target, the new expectation. And the pressure Ronnie once carried moved directly onto his shoulders overnight. Meanwhile, Ronnie's loss changed bodybuilding emotionally. Fans realized the champion could fall. The aura of inevitability disappeared. And once dominance becomes breakable, the sport becomes unpredictable again. Looking back, Olympia 2006 was less about one man beating another. It was the night bodybuilding admitted it was ready to evolve. Ronnie Coleman didn't lose because he became weak. He lost because the definition of winning changed. Jay Cutler didn't just defeat a champion. He arrived at the exact moment the sport needed a new direction. Timing, not just physique, decided history. Every dynasty ends, but only a few endings reshape the future. The night Jay Cutler won the Olympia wasn't the fall of Ronnie Coleman. It was the moment bodybuilding quietly turned the page, and the sport has never looked the same since.